scruffy looking. At least I'm not a Nerf herder. Anywho, yes, I actually do like Star Wars. Star Trek's a way of life, but Star Wars is a cute little frivolity. Frivolity. That's a word that invokes something in my head. I just can't remember it now. Frivolity. Anywho, I am vastly trying to clean the room because it is a certified disaster in here after Bricks and a Six and a few other things, and me neglecting it. I mean, it's not bad. It's been worse. And so I'm puttering, cleaning it up, doing some organization. I got all the blue and all the gray from the last lot that I bought sorted into the collection, and some of the black. And I've started a new tote of overflow for Jeff because why not? Because basic bricks, I don't need any more basic bricks at all. So I've been doing that, and I've been reconstituting sets. And there's some people ask, how do I store these things? Not nicely. Not the worst, but not nicely. Basically, I break down the sets so they go into a baggie like this. So I take the tail off because the tail could break. I take the 1x2 with handles off because they could also break. I take the landing pads off, and it might get even more broken as it's in the bin, but it usually doesn't. And then this just goes into one of the bins, one of the totes that I have. And sooner or later, more later than sooner, I do want to rent a room, rent a display area, and put all of them out and see what it looks like. I keep on talking about it. You've probably heard me talk about that. I used to have a spreadsheet where I was trying to keep track of the classic space sets, all the space sets that I had, from 6880 to 6991, plus all the other numbers that, the Light and Sounds and the Mission to Mars and all those other ones. Somebody actually asked me how complete I was. I don't think, I do know I own 1 or 2 sets of Galaxy Squad. I do know that. I mean, I bought the small ones, but I couldn't care. Nice line. I'm going to say that. The minifig fantastic. The builds were inspirational, but it's not my style. I'm old school. So Galaxy Squad for me is, I don't care. For what it was, fantastic. Space Police 3, surprisingly, I got a lot of them, but I got them on deep discount off the store shelves when they were just dumping them because they didn't sell well. I would say Space Police 3 was hit and miss for me. I like the Capital Ship. I might rebuild it someday. I think I actually have 2 copies of it. I remember buying one off the store shelf. And it was impressive from what I remember. But again, not my style. I did not buy the Space Police building, which had the sideways garage door thing. I don't necessarily regret that decision. But again, I bought them because they were cheap, not because I wanted them. And some of the minifigs from Space Police 3 ended up in the layout because they really had some really cool aliens. I'm going to say that for sure. It has some really cool aliens. So I can guarantee not at all complete in Space Police 3, not at all complete in Galaxy Squad, not at all complete in, I'm going to say, because I always screwed up, Mars Missions. Mars Missions is, I wanted to be complete in Mars Missions. I really did. And I think it's called Mars Missions, you guys. It's the white and trans orange for the, and then the black. And it's the trans green with the glow in the dark where the heart is, I guess. Aliens, 2-piece aliens. I got most of the sets. I got most of them. I did not get the Target exclusive, the Toys R Us exclusive, the mining drill thing. I wanted that one to look really cool. I didn't get it. I could probably build it because I probably got in the used lot sometime. But I did not get it. So Mars mission is not complete. Life on Mars, definitely not complete. Definitely not complete. Uh, uh, but all the sets that came out, obviously between 6880 to 6991, complete. Um, the 1593 most garbage set they've ever released that combined the Starfleet Voyager and the 6880. Plus, I believe somebody told me you have to bring in 2 extra pieces to finish it. I am adamant, and again, times may change, but I am adamant that I will not build that. Now, I love my friends who have built it because it's actually in one of my best friend's layouts when he does a show, and I'll look at it and I'll, ooh, that's nice, but I will not. I'm adamant that I will put my foot down. Will not build it, so I'm not complete there. I also have not built today. They're not together today. The super vehicles that came in Mtron and Blacktron 2. I do not have those supercars that combine the 3 medium-sized sets into one big, huge thing. I keep on saying I'm saving that for a rainy day to do a video on. I haven't done it yet. And I think those are actually, I think those actually have set numbers. I don't know what they are, but I have not, or I do not have one built. Either one of them built at this time. I do remember vividly building the Mtron one and thought it was cool. I really did. But I did take it apart. It was pre-internet. And I'm not even sure I got the instructions. I don't know if the instructions came with the sets. I can't remember now. This is like how far back it goes. And the Blacktron 2, I want to say I built it, but the second thing that goes is the memory. so I can't say I did. Other than that, other space sets that do not fall between 6880 and 6991, Life on Mars, RoboForce. I know I can build all of them, but I only have one built and he's up there. That's fine. I'm gonna say I keep on trashing RoboForce. Give me a sec. I keep on trashing RoboForce, but I actually think this is one of the cutest things that I've ever seen. I mean, it is what it is. I like it, but it just did not appeal to me. I got a lot of trans and no water. I forgot. I got that. I guess it's 3x4x5 inverted windshield thing that has RoboForce printed on it. I got 2 or 3 of those up there in the trans neon orange. I think it's trans neon orange bin. I do keep on meaning to rebuild it. I think I actually have the smaller RoboForce built and it's in one of the bins outside. Maybe, but again, I didn't. It wasn't. I didn't. I think I was way past because I mentioned that I was 100% complete until Blacktron 2. 100% complete. I buy all the Futron. I bought all the Blacktron. I bought all the Space Police 1. I bought all the Mtron. And then I was buying all the Space Police, the Blacktron 2. And I didn't get the Alpha Centauri Outpost. I didn't get it. I didn't get it off the store shelves. I got all the other ones, but I just couldn't, for me, justify the cost of the biggest set. And the picture didn't make me want to buy it. I have it now, and I still have some trans neon green, big, huge panels left because it came, I think, the Aerial Intruder. I have 2 or 3 copies of that, but 1 copy of the Alpha Centauri base that I got in a used lot some time ago. So that's when I stopped being complete. And I wasn't that interested in trying to stay complete. But then again, I got tons of used lots after that. So I completed all of Ice Planet, all of Space Police 2, all of Spyrus, all of Unitron. A Unitron is odd because I think there was only 4 sets. One of them was the monorail, if I remember correctly. I did not buy... no, I'm trying to remember now. because again, second thing, this is my faulty memory. I have vivid memories of certain things, and some things is kind of like nebulous on. I don't believe I bought. I may have said I did, and if I did, I might have, but I don't remember it right now. I don't remember buying the 6991 off the store shelves because I already had stacks of monorail already. Stacks of monorail already. So there was no need for me to buy a 6991 off the store shelves. Now, that said, I remember buying used lots off of eBay. I remember buying used lots off of Kijiji when the internet showed up, because again, Unitron was pre-internet. I remember buying all this stuff off the internet back before Lego got stupid expensive. I'm talking about 20 plus years ago on eBay. I don't know when eBay started, but I think it was pre-2000 or maybe 2000. And Kijiji's and all that stuff. And just the local papers running on the internet. I bought lots of used lots then, and people were just dumping boxes for $60 or $100 or totes. I remember going out to Burlington. Sandy and I were married, but I was still working for Laidlaw, so it's got to be over 12 years ago. So I think closer to 20. A guy had on Kijiji, because that's where I was buying most of my stuff back then, had two Rubbermaid rugged totes, the bigger, not the bathtub size ones, but the bigger ones. And he wanted $300 for both. Sign me up. Sign me up. I bought both, and they're both full. And that, I think, had a 6991 in it. And again, I keep on, the one memory I do have that I absolutely 100% certain is walking into Value Village, and Sandy was there too. And they had a 6991 basically complete, except for the big raised base plate, plus extra monorail track, plus extra monorail track for $19.99. So I think, again, at peak, I had about 12 or 13 motors, monorail motors. I have 20 plus monorail base plates for the vehicles. And again, not the biggest monorail collection, but I got 3 of my 2.5 times shoe boxes full of monorail track here, and I've been selling some to friends that ask, because again, I'm not going to use it. So it is downsizing. Monorail track stupid expensive, so it is, fine. But I know I have multiple copies of the 6991 now, because I remember building it before I got that one off of at the thrift store at Value Village for $19.99. So I had already built it before then. And so when I built it the second time, and that's the first one I got, came with instructions. I don't think it came with a box. Maybe, again, I don't remember getting a box, but this is a long time ago. So 6991, 6990, it's tough to know when you buy a bulk lot, that's missing a lot of pieces in the sets if you got a 6990 or a 6991, because if you're missing the blue canopies, and something. I remember just a couple years ago, we were at the town garage sale, and I saw a box that had the blue elongated canopy, and I'm going, ooh, it's a 6991. Because it had all the other dark, the black wings and the gray pieces and the trans neon green. I think there's some trans neon green in the 6991. And I thought the box had a 6991 in it. And it turned out to be crater critters, whatever that's. And again, I may have built it once, but I will not. It's that big wheel, medium wheel, small wheel, and it had the 2 ships connected to it. That's the set that was in there. Was not a 6991. Wow, wow. But anyway, the box was cheap, so I got lots of the classic space in it, so it didn't matter. I do love finding used lots. I mentioned that last week or 2 weeks ago when I got the other used lot. I mentioned it when on the way to Bricks and a 6. I got another used lot that had a 918 in it. And I still keep my radar up. Now, when I'm sorting out the lot that I just got, that you've already had videos on, and some of this stuff, most of this stuff came from that used lot. Was it worth the price? I'm second guessing myself. I know he came down in price from what he originally asked for. I am finding that when people think they have classic space, that they can charge a lot more. There was a person who came to my door, I mentioned this, really nice people, really adorable people. A lot that was better than this one, because it was basically all classic space instead of a lot of basic brick, which again, I don't mind getting for my friend Jeff. But it was a classic space lot, and they wanted $300 for it. And they even brought it here. And it filled up the bottom of a box, like maybe 3 inches deep. And I'm going, I cannot justify $300 for a box yay big that's just got 3 inches of brick in the bottom. Now they're all zip-locked. They're all color separated, and it had the LL928, LL924, a whole bunch of other printed bricks that were mint condition. The trans yellow was mint condition, next to mint, from what I saw in the box. And the blue was great, the gray was great. The wing plates were all there. But I could tell that I would have to, and I even told them this just by looking through there. I would have to either pull from my collection to finish every one of these sets, because no base plates showed up. And there was a command center in there and a Galaxy Explorer, but then there's no base plates. And I'm going, I don't mind pulling from my collection because I have a huge collection to pull from. But as I mentioned in a couple of videos ago, that I am running out of standard pieces, like gray, old, light gray antennas. Like, I'm running out. And it's like, light gray ladders. Like, this is odd for me. Like, I had lots of light gray ladders, but I only have like 3 or 4 left now. I'm going, it's a light gray ladder. I had billions of them before. But after reconstituting all these sets, they all disappeared because, of course, the ladder is going to break. I've broken 1 or 2 back in the day of the ladders because they break easy. So it is one piece that you'll have to replace when you usually buy a used lot, which is kind of sad. So I like, it's like, so I am, even now, even after the last lot I purchased, I'm going to be even more careful and more consideration of whether or not I'm going to buy a used lot, even if it does have classic space in it. Because I'm not saying I was ripped off. It was a perfectly amicable exchange, money for Lego. And it was a big collection. But as I'm sorting it out, it's a big basic brick collection. Now, I don't mind the big basic brick collections as long as there's some other thing in it that warrants the purchase. But $150. Now, I'm gonna say I got an FX Star Patroller out of it, so that's one. I got not the solar power transporter or something else. I got the mobile lab. Can't complain about that. I got yet another rocket launcher. Can't complain about that. And I got the Beta 1. So I got 4 sets that I reconstituted myself and then grabbed a few pieces from my collection, obviously. And so is that worth $150? I think so. Plus the others, like lots of really cool pieces left over that I cannot, for the life of me, even try to start trying to figure out what that's going to reconstitute into, because they're basically ubiquitous in a lot of different space sets. So they just get rolled into the collection. So I am replenishing some of my parts that I was low on with this lot, and I'm happy about that. So again, I'm not unhappy about the $150, but they were originally asking for $200. And I'm going, this is definitely not worth $200 to me. It might have been worth $200 to somebody else. But again, to complete these 4 lots, I mean, the FX Star Patroller is still not complete yet. I mean, I'm getting some pieces from friend, thank you. And the mobile lab, I had to grab some pieces from my collection. The rocket launcher, there was some broken pieces, and I had to grab the rest from my collection. And the Beta 1, I mean, it was just, I don't know how many pieces. A few from my collection. And again, sure, that's the whole purpose of me having this collection, is my great expensive belly, is to complete sets right now. And I'm glad I have it because I can complete sets right now. But that can only go so far. So anyway, so some people, 19 minutes into this, were asking how I store this stuff. So I got at least right now 8 totes, 8 Rubbermaid rugged totes, stacked, and they are labeled. One is labeled 3-digit classic space sets. Yes, the whole tote of 3-digit classic base sets. And if you saw my other small short videos on the TikToks and or the YouTube shorts, you know I have at least 10 928s, 10 924s, and 10 918s. They're all in there. The command center's in there, the Alpha 1 rocket base, which I think I have 2 copies are in there. And then all the other little things like this guy is in there. This is a 3-digit. See, now this is my bad memory. That's a 3-digit set. And this is a 3-digit set. So they all go in there. This is not a 3-digit set. Nor is this. So anyway, but I put everything in Ziplocs. I break it down so they don't break. I kind of store them on the floor for now because it's going out and getting the right tote to put this stuff in to keep it as organized as possible. It's a little bit annoying. I have a tote full of 6970s, 6971s, 6880s. 6971, 6970, Beta 1, the 6971, 6980, and 6985. I have one tote just has those 4 specific sets in it. It is packed. And then I have classic space vehicles packed, classic space ships packed. And so I'll have to distribute these accordingly. Vehicles, obviously, this guy, ships, this guy, for the 4 digits. So there is a method to my madness. I know the solar power is going to go in with the vehicles, just cause. And then it's out of my room. It's in the tote, ready for some sort of futuristic display. So the one thing I want to talk about, because I mentioned I do take apart the ships as much as possible, where I don't have to take the whole thing apart, but just to reduce the idea that a piece is going to get forced bent and be bent out of shape. I have had those 8x8 wing plates that come in here, these 8x8s here and here. I've had these 8x8 wing plates that were not by me, but I get in a lot, and the wing is like bent because something heavy sat on it and was pinched somewhere. And what I normally do is heat them up a little tiny bit, either with very, very hot water, like scalding hot water, which makes the plastic a little pliable, and they put it back into shape, and I hold it till it cools down right underneath cold water. That usually does the trick. Sometimes you have to bend it past, and then it just kind of settles in the middle. I heat it up a little bit. So, but the one thing I wanted to do, and I didn't do too much, and I haven't retroactively done it yet, is that, of course, the Beta 1. The Beta 1 comes with literally one of the most fragile pieces literally they ever made, is the gray 8-spoke antenna. So what I did, and I've done this before, is I build a little box, a little unit to hold it so it doesn't get wrecked, because this is one of my really good antennas. It's not bent. And I made better boxes. This was a really quick one, 4 wide. It just holds the antenna so it doesn't get bent in there. I've also done this for the long antennas that came in Mtron and Blacktron 2 and blah blah blah, because those things get bent, but I usually am able to fix those antennas when they're bent back to a reasonable straightness. This one you can't fix when it's bent. So I decided to show that off, a nice little box for that. And then I did not keep the base plates with the set when it comes with base plates, because that just takes up too much room. And again, it's being put into a box where I don't want the base plates getting bent if they're like stuff sitting on it unevenly. So I also try to remember to take all the air out. There we go. And then I try to remember, because when I build these sets and I realize that it's missing a part that I don't have, I go on to my Bricklink and I add it to my wanted list. And my wanted list is pretty small right now. I completed a few sets earlier that I had to get parts and pieces from the Bricklinks. Right now, I think if I were to make a Bricklink order, I'll pay $16 plus shipping, which is fine for me to complete sets. But I'm not going to do it right now. I'm not going to Bricklink because again, some good friend of mine is shipping me some pieces, and I'm shipping him some pieces, and that's going to complete some of my sets, and I hope it completes some of his sets. But I am going to focus on cleaning up this room. And I still have 3 totes under my desk right now that are full of old builds and crap that I have to sort out and take apart. And so I'm going to get those just to have. This is my winter project now. I said this was always going to be my winter project. And then I'm going to, because I got some more, I got some more empty cases. Jeff, you don't have to send me anymore. Jeff and I had a nice little chat the other day because I was sitting in this chair and I was reaching way over there, reach, and I even went back. And then, of course, this chair is like from the Middle Ages. It's a comfy chair. That's why I keep it. It's very comfy. But if you lean way back, whoop, I went right over. Feet up in the air, right over. And, of course, then I was building stuff for Bricks in the Six. And I completely smashed the corners of 2 or 3 of these boxes. And so parts were leaking out of them. And then on Jeff's stream last week, I was taping up the boxes to fix them so the pieces wouldn't leak out of them. And Jeff astutely said, "There's $3. There are $3 at the Dollarama." And but the Dutch in me said, I will use packing tape and fix the corners of the 2 boxes or 3 boxes that I broke because I can't. And so I did. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, there's going to be more Jeff Van Winden's sorting method, TM, happening in the near future. But right now, I am going to focus on getting the floor clear again. I still have this from the last lot that I got. Although that's already just regular pieces, so that's just going to go in there. The rest of the blue sorted in. I got the black, which has some really, really cool pieces. But again, I'm not going to build anything with it for now. What else do I got down here? What I've been doing lately is when I make a build, because I mentioned I built the robot, I all the loose pieces I put back in here instead of sorting them. And so now I'm going to sort this box back into my collection because it was in my collection before I started. And then I come across stuff like this where I had my antenna thing that I said, screw it, I don't want that anymore. But I always get back into these things after when I'm going to sort it back in my collection going, oh, this was a fantastic idea. Why didn't I go with it? No. And this was a fantastic idea. Why didn't I? So all that's going to be broken down and put back into the collection. But every time I grab this box, I remember the builds I was making and the leftovers I swept into this box. So I have to get that sorted out. But that's it for pieces on the floor overall. But I do have, I said, the 3 totes down here. And somebody wanted something for Bricks in the Six. And I told them I had it. I'm trying to remember what it was. Because underneath my desk, there are totes, and sometimes there's totes that have not classic space, but actual sets and bags that I reconstituted and put right in there. Like, the fire station. Somebody wanted the fire station. This 1973 white fire station with the red roof, and the 24 by 32 base plate with the 3 driveways on it. Somebody wanted that. So I said, I know I had one. I know I had 1 or 2 in bags. Because last year I got 2 of them in lots. And so I had to go looking for it. And it was, of course, there's 3 totes under there. And it was the very last tote at the very, very bottom, which is fantastic for me. So I said, yeah, these 3 totes have to get sorted out. And yes, they will not be able to all fit into my room. And the leftovers will go into the overflow and they'll go to my buddy Jeff. So, and I do mean to, at some point, because Sandy wants to do some micro scale building, I do mean to, at some point, sort out my other alternate colors that I don't care about. The non original 5 basic colors: red, white, blue, yellow, black, and of course green. And then the grays, light grays and dark grays, which is all I really do sort out at this point. All the other purples and pinks and dark neon, dark whatever, dark burgundies, whatever they are, all the millions. I got 2 totes over there full of that are unsorted. I keep on trying to sort them, and of course, as a colorblind person, I've already in a bad spot. But there's colors I don't care about. But if we're going to do some micro scale building for shows, Sandy and I want to sort those out. But that's going to be later. But whatever, when I do it, it'll be fun because colorblind guy. So I do have my work cut out for me. But as I say, now when I get something like this, besides these 2 things, this whole thing's going to be dumped into the overflow bin. So that's perfect for me. The white is mostly just basic brick. There are a few things I'm going to have to sort out, like my wonderful, wonderful little things there for what I will use them for, which is the Starfleet Voyager. But they have but the white overall, most of these pieces are just going to be put right into the overflow, which will make my life a lot easier. So those will be quick sorts. Yellow, basically again the same thing. All the basic 2x bricks and 1x bricks are going to go straight into the overflow, and I'll take out the doors and my favorite old-timey pieces, and this guy, which I've never built and anything, and you know, stuff like that. But overall, so now because my bins are full of all the basic bricks, and they're all sorted just 2x2s, and then 2x3s in a separate bin, 2x4s in a separate bin, and every one of those is full in black, white, red, blue, and yellow. When I get these things, I know I don't have to sort them. Just put them in the overflow. And Jeff needs under the in the interior strengthened pieces to build more mountains and stuff. So yes, I'm enabling my friend Jeff to build more. So, and I have no problem with that. So I'm going to start yet another tote for that. And again, if he doesn't want it, I'm going to put it on Marketplace for, you know, I don't know what the going rate is for basic brick filler, because I don't want to go through it. Some pieces are mint and some pieces are crap. They're not broken. I try to take all the broken pieces and the bent pieces and the CA pieces that get twisted out of it. But some look like they've been, you know, in the sun for eternity. So if I just look at the white, so you get that kind of difference, right? It is what it is. But if you're putting that inside a building, who cares? Inside the mountain. So I got lots of like really older. Oh, that said police on it once. Wah wah. That's funny. I grabbed that. You know, and of course injection mold in the side instead of in the studs. So I could talk about that for a sec, but I'm not going to. I remember this is one of my memories that I do remember having is when they changed the injection mold from the sides to the top on the stud. I do remember that. And it was a bit of a process. It didn't happen in 1 year. It happened over a few years. But usually when you find an older brick with the injection mold on the side, you'll also see that it's faded, especially the white guys. There are mint white white bricks, and then you can see this one. It has the injection mold right there, and that guy, right in that stud, right there. That's when they changed it. 80s, 90s, somewhere around there, and then they changed this, so they made the wall center. So if you look at, here's an original, and then you got these guys. They made the wall center, saves on plastic, saves on environment, blah blah blah. For those of you who are right now noticing that I have a black eye, one does not talk about the Fight Club. No, it wasn't the Fight Club. It was me being whatever. So the quick tangent to close off this video. Last weekend, which is why I haven't been down here a lot. The weekend before last, I helped somebody install a security camera system in their house. and a 5-camera system. And so 2 weekends ago, I did that, helping somebody install that. I went up into the attic and swam through 3 feet of blown-in insulation, get the cameras where we wanted them, whatever. It's fun. So, so I always thought that was the worst of it, going in the crawl space in the attic, which led to some injury, but nothing to write home about. So last weekend, basically what we did is, because we ran all the wires down to the basement as we could, and then we had to run all the wires to a central location where we're putting the PVR or the DVR or whatever people want to call it, the box. And to make it prettier, we decided to drill holes all the way through like 20 joists to get the wires from where they were to where they had to be. And I have my wonderful little cordless drill, and I have a spade bit on it. Because again, I could have gone to the store and bought one of those, what the contractors use, which is a 2.5 foot spiral drill. But again, I'm drilling through joists, and I want it to go straight through. So my drill with the bit on it fit in between the 16-inch studs on center, or the joist on center, most times. And so I'm drilling all the way through. I drill through like 18 joists. I get to the 19th one, and it was a little bit of a tight squeeze, and I'm standing on top of a step ladder, and I'm like, the drill's right here. I'm holding it right here, and I'm through the thing. And all of a sudden, as spade bits are wont to do, which for the last 17 didn't, but sometimes they do that, the blade caught and the drill, and of course the big battery just cluned me in the head. And I'm going, hey, that hurt. So as always, and then I pulled it back and I drilled it again, and so it's finished. And then I finished the last one, and then I bring my hand down, and I realize the top of my hand is red. I'm bleeding. So it's like, yeah. So there's a little cut there too. And so I put my hand up there and I took it away. Blah blah blah, blood and death. No, not death, but Zootopia is a great movie. One of our favorites. So I said, that's gonna be a black eye. So that was last Saturday. It's much better now. Yeah. So it started here and went all the way over here. So now this is the worst part. I've had worse black eyes in my life. Again, not from being in any fisticuffs or whatever. We were decades ago. I couldn't have been more than 22, probably even younger. We were playing, tag or hide and seek. It was an adult version. Well, not adult as we were older, not in any other context, where you basically get to beat the crap out of each other, but you're in a pitch black room. And the pitch black room happened to be our church sanctuary. All the lights are off. And I heard movement in the pews over there. And I go, and I'm going to, but it's pitch black, seriously pitch black. So you're feeling your way around and you hear something over there. And I go, ha ha. And I went down hard. And right there, same spot, I caught the edge of the pew, the vertical, the holding of the pew in the hallway. And bam. And that one, I saw stars. This one, I didn't see stars. That one, I saw stars. And I'm going, oh, that's going to be bad. And immediately, like, just lots of blood. It was ripped right open. And, but I said, that's definitely going to be a black eye. And this one, I started here, and it basically kind of migrated all the way down. And like 4 weeks later, it was down to here. And then it just kind of disappeared. And that was first black, and then black and brown, and then brown and blue and purple. Like I had every color of the rainbow going down my cheek. Good times. So I'm slightly worried on this one. But this one, we're into day 4, and it's not bad. So, so that's what it is. And I get to use my Fight Club quote. One does not talk about the Fight Club. One does not simply walk into Mordor. Anyway, that's it. That's all. I'm going to go to bed. I've done a little bit of sorting, and I do have this wonderful bin here to sort out. of all the wonderful little pieces, printed pieces and minifigs that I got in this lot, which again, worth 150. Having a complete shell sign, fantastic. Right here on top, the police. So I was going to reconstitute that set, but I said nah. And that guy. A nice Lego flag, always cool to have. So there were, and again, for me, headlight brick. You can ask me until you're blue in the face. I do love the headlight brick because it is my childhood. It's absolutely my childhood. And this one had, as I said, pretty good pieces. I've had lots where they weren't. So it's pretty, and then of course the no eggs, no moving arms, no moving legs minifigs. I've got a bunch in there. Going down, I'm not going to go through the same thing again, but I got some more flags down there and some more whatever. I didn't pull this piece out. I do have this guy, which is fairly important to me, and it's, you know, it's still got the gold on it, so it's actually not the best, but it's still, if you saw my other video of all my 2x3 slopes with the printed Classic Space logo on it, this is better than the rest of them. so but I wasn't going to try to figure out what set that came from. And then the console. I always love having consoles. So, oh, right. And then we're going to pull these two pieces out just for fun. Let me just get that out here. So, because again, this is my youth. I've been around long enough to have this. Let's see what this one is. Oh, this one's really bad. So, just getting these together for just to end this video. And not all Legoland. Yeah, that's always a good one. The older the pieces, the worse they look, which is also ubiquitous. I showed you that 2x3 of the police. They had some other police. They had lots of these bricks in there that aren't faded, but of course that one was. I didn't even notice it. But if we get here, what's that? Shell? I don't care about the shell. So let's just do this then. That goes over there. Oh, and I just noticed a misprint. I have a few of these. Because of course this is what it's supposed to look like. So anyway, and the phone from the police station. But you can see here, so faded, really faded, stupidly really faded. But again, that's the original logo, just like that one is. Let me just, come on, just focus on that. So those two are the original logo. And this is the logo I grew up with from 5 or 6 years old. I remember this one when I was really young. But then that's the logo that we got when we were kids. So I do like getting those bricks. I already mentioned this one. And then I mentioned this to you. Just love this piece from my childhood. Good times. So anyway, this is what I'm going to be sorting out for a while, and I'm going to have fun doing it. And, oh, a yellow one. Yay! It makes me happy. Honest to God. It's just a nostalgia factor. I don't know what else you can call it. It is just me revisiting my childhood, where I had so much fun with my family and friends, and just building until we had to go to bed, and we had like massive villages on our train station, our train layout. We had an HO train set that we would build Lego houses for, and like all that stuff. But it's just, it was a time, I think, again, not to go off on this tangent now, but it was a time, I will say this as easily and as succinctly as possible, it's a time that'll never, literally ever happen again. It can't happen again. There's, for me, I think the evolution from, So, go on this quick tangent at the 44-minute mark. We were talking about this the other day because of security cameras. I grew up in a town of 1,600 people. That's the town I grew up in. 1,600 people. Had 1,600 people in it. It was not out in the sticks, although we thought it was at the time. It was not out in the sticks. We were not 20 feet from Hamilton. You could walk from our house to Hamilton, a little bit of a walk, an hour and a half. Then you're walking. Driving, it's 7 minutes to get from where we lived into Hamilton. Getting into Toronto, back then it was 45 minutes. But in St. Catharines is 30 minutes that way. But Grimsby's right next door. So it was, but it was a small town of 600 people. It did not have a stoplight at all. It had stop signs, but it had no stoplights at all in my town when I grew up in it. Everybody knew who I was because of who my parents were and who my family is. So I could not jaywalk without it getting back to my parents. So, and neighbors watched out for another blah, blah, blah. The whole, I'm not saying Norman Rockwell painting, but it was a comfortable and quote unquote innocent time. Now, I do know now at 57, and I knew actually before I turned 20, that there was some shenanigans, some nefarious, some malfeasance that happened below the radar of the society. Now, not a lot of it, because people would have done something. Oh, I got this in there too. But there was some shenanigans that shouldn't have happened, but did, because almost every town had some stuff that happened. And so don't dwell on it. But I never once worried about the black van. We always heard rumors. But I, as a 10, 12-year-old kid riding my bike throughout the entire neighborhood, didn't have a care in the world. And then you hang out with your buddies. And so, and then you come home when the lights came on. Blah, 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 all that stuff. It is true. And if you kids these days don't understand, that was a true statement. You went home when the street lights came on. You left on a weekend at 7 o'clock in the morning. You hop on your bike, you go meet your friends at the park or wherever, at the library, wherever you want to meet. And then you ride your bike around town, drink out of garden hoses. Now, this isn't hyperbole. This is what we did. We go climb trees, we go build forts in the escarpment, blah, blah. So, and I'm not saying that the internet changed everything, where a lot of kids don't do this anymore. But times have changed. And so the town I grew up in is not the town it is now. It really isn't. And so security cameras might be warranted, sure. The world is not the... And again, this is the point that I was making to my friend when we were talking about the security cameras in the town that I grew up in. Even back then, in the 70s, where I grew up in a small town, Hamilton was down the street. And Hamilton had issues. All big cities have issues with stealing and getting beat up and blah, blah, blah. Now, again, I didn't read the newspaper and I didn't watch a lot of news on the TV, but I'm not being rose-colored glasses. So is Hamilton better today than it was in 1970? I don't know. Is it worse today than it was in 1970? I don't know. Does it have a lot more people? Yes, it does. So, but if you lived in Hamilton in the 70s, you would have had a different living experience than I did living in my little town when I was growing up, which is, again, just down the street. So I can't sit here now and say, oh, everything was rose-colored glasses, everything was tickety-boo back then in the 70s. It was for me by the sheer happenstance of where I was born. This is the blessed part of my whole life, and the I forgot what that name is. People always talk about my memory sucks when it comes to words. I didn't have to worry growing up My sister did, because she's a girl, and girls always have to worry, and that sucks about our society. Speaks volumes about our society that I had to go get my sister in the park when she was 13. When I was like 12 or 11 or 10 or 9, hanging out in the park by myself at nighttime. It didn't matter. So again, overly cautious, fine. But I don't like to ignore my it's not stature. There's a word for it. It just keeps on popping out of my mind. My blessings. I don't want to ignore the blessings I had growing up. So anyway, so we got to talk about the security cameras, about why it's different now than it was back then. And I'm going, if there were security cameras in the 70s, people living in Hamilton would have bought them in the 70s. They would have. If they were affordable, if you could have bought that 8-channel security systems that I bought 2 weeks ago for what I did last weekend, now for under $1,000, I was like, well, under $1,000. If those setups were available in the 70s, guaranteed there'd be people buying them in the 70s in Hamilton. Guaranteed. Did you need them in Winona back in the 70s? Probably not, because we had block parents, we had neighborhood watches, we had all that crap in Winona. You couldn't get away with anything in Winona, because Mrs. Jones would call, hey, do you know what I saw your kid doing last night or yesterday or whatever? He was jaywalking, or he spit on the ground, or he spit out his gum, whatever it was, like that innocuous, would get back to my mom and dad. So, but that's Winona. And if you're living in the big city of Hamilton, that's not what happens there. The kids could get into mischief a lot easier in the city than they could out in the country, and be caught for it, and yet ignored for it. Whereas if we're out in the country, we could get into mischief, but if it was seen, our parents would know immediately. So I don't want to say that life is harder now. It is in some senses, and it's a lot easier in other senses. Like every epoch of time has its pluses, it has its minuses. I'm 57 years old. I lived pre-internet and after internet. I lived pre-cable television, after cable television, pre-CD and after CD, pre-MP3 after MP3, pre-VCR after VCR. Like the stuff that we did when we were kids. I had every single Hardy Boys book, and I think I mentioned that before, and I read them all, probably 2 or 3 times. Some of them I read more than that. I can guarantee, I know 2 kids right now that I've read every single Hardy Boys book, because I lent my collection to them and they read them. But that's it. But when I was a kid, I can name 10 people just easily right now that read every single Hardy Boys book, because that's what we did. There was nothing else there wasn't the internet to distract us. There wasn't 17 million channels on television to distract us. There wasn't video games to distract, like all that stuff. Now, bad, good, I'm not here to make a determination. I've been playing video games since video games existed. But again, I was alive pre-video games too. So it's like every single snippet of time where this is this way and then it changes has its pluses and minuses. Every decade I've been alive on this planet, and I've been almost 6 decades now, every single decade had its pluses and minuses. Every single block of time, and I don't know what criteria you want to use to separate the times. It's generational. I'm Gen X. Boomers were before me. They had their pluses, they had their minuses. Gen X has their pluses and has their minuses. We got the best music. And then Gen Z, millennials, whatever they are now, they have their pluses and they have their minuses. And I think it behooves us to understand that time marches on and technology marches on, and not morals, but the way we handle things changes, has evolved drastically. Now, again, at the 53-minute mark, the rate of change was pretty, I won't say stagnant, but was on a very, very slow slope for literally millennia. The 1100s, 1200s, 1300s, 800s, 900s, whatever. You go back then and get to the 1700s, and get to the 1800s, and then it starts, electricity, automobile, 1900s, electricity, refrigeration, blah blah blah. I do remember, and it's something that Bill Maher said. And again, you can love or hate the guy. I respect him in some ways, and in some ways I think he's just a bloviating blowhard. But he was called to, I don't know what, MIT or whatever, some Institute of Technology, to give a commencement speech to the graduates. And they had said why the internet was the single best invention in the history of the history of civilization. And he got up there in the 21st century, and he got up there, and he said, the internet's fantastic, pluses, minuses again, but prior to 1900, 1900, so we're talking the 19th century, the 1800s, because again, how they do that, the 1800s is the 19th century, the 1900s is the 20th century, so whatever. So prior to 1900, and I would say overall just prior to 1900, prior to 1900, electricity was invented. Electricity was invented prior to 1900. Now, invented is a colloquial term. Electricity has always been around, but how we got to harness it and get it to people's houses and stuff like that. So electricity was invented prior to 1900. The automobile was invented prior to 1900. Flight, maybe not motorized flight, but flight was invented prior to 1900. Refrigeration was invented prior to 1900. And forget about the medical advances prior to 1900 that we still use today. That keeps us alive longer. Now, what can you today say you can live without? Out of refrigeration, the transportation, the motor car, the electricity, or the internet. Which one, if you needed to live tomorrow and you had to get rid of one of those, you had to live the rest of your life, which one can you get rid of? To me, it's a no-brainer. See you, internet. I'm gonna go drive my car. I'm gonna take milk out of my fridge. I'm gonna turn on my light and watch TV. Like, it's a no-brainer. Like, electricity versus the internet. Like, the internet is utterly fantastic. It gets you all the information at your fingertips, and it's one of the best things and worst things to get information out there to the world in an instant fashion. It's instant gratification, but compared to refrigeration, compared to electricity, compared to transportation, I mean, if we went back to horses, could I live on going back to horses? Maybe. I wouldn't mind having a horse, although that's expensive. But yeah, I think we put a lot of emphasis on the wrong things about what's important and what's fantastic and whatever. I think people have to, and including me, have to start understanding that things are tools and not the change, not the pillar of society, the foundational pillar of society. The internet is a tool. It can be a tool. It's a lot of fun, and I do a lot of time wasting on it, but it is a tool to be used. It's not a fundamental necessity of civilization. It's only been around for, well, let's say 27 years now. I started building web pages back in 1991. So I guess 30 something years now. But no, 1991. When did I go to, trying to remember when I went to the mid 90s. I was going to the university. I was creating the web pages, mid 90s. So yeah, when it caught on, like I bought my first home computer in 1983, the Commodore 64. And I brought that home. And we were the first person in the area that had a computer in the house. Nobody else had a computer in the house. And that was a few years after that when I bought a modem. A modem. So I could talk to other computers. And so we're talking the 80s, which some of you kids out there were not alive yet, but I'm just saying I'm 57 and I was already almost an adult. Right? So it's like, and again, when you start thinking about time and epochs of time, I was born 22 years after the war was over, World War II. 22 years! That's not you just graduated from high school and either going off to college or you get married. That's your lifetime. I was born that much after the war ended. I keep on that hits me every once in a while. I was in church as a kid. I was in church with people who fought in the war because I'd be 5 and they'd be, 40. So they'd be 40. They'd be having their kids. So it's like I think about that a lot. Like it is astounding to me that my granddad was born in 1895, so he lived long enough. Like the car was invented, but it was not mass produced yet. Ford hadn't done that yet in 1895, but he lived in places without electricity. They had to move around on horses. Everything was done by hand. There was not steam shovels to build buildings. Everything was done by hand. And then he lived through the First World War. My granddad did. He lived through the Great Depression. My granddad did. He lived through World War II. My granddad did. He brought his family to Canada. My granddad did. He settled Canada. So he was alive prior to landing on the moon. He was before rockets were invented in 1895. Flight, hardly anything. Cars, hardly anything. And electricity, hardly anything. And he lived through all that. And then he passed away, and he was 92 when he passed away. So he lived through that. That was a huge change in one lifetime. That was massive change in your own little tiny world and the entire huge world. From my life, from my personal experience, okay, Lego's always been here. Besides the internet itself and VCRs and all that technology that goes with having an MP3 player in your hip and all that stuff, and just getting on your phone and surfing the internet, is that a huge change? It's really like, yes, going to look at the microfiche in a library or getting Encyclopedia Britannica updates in the mail. Yes, you got the information at your fingertips now. But 1895, your house didn't have electricity, didn't have a refrigerator. You didn't have you had a stove maybe, but it was a wood stove maybe, and all that stuff. And then you're dying, and we've been to the moon. We have space stations in orbit. We have at your fingertips and whatever. I find that literally astounds me, because again, my life, this house was built that I live in 7 years after I was born. This house that I live in was built in 1974. So yeah, 7 years after I was born. And so I live in a house that was not that old, slightly younger than me. I drive a car that's basically the same thing that I could have bought in 1967. So the changes in my lifetime are a lot, quote, less. The radically huge changes in my lifetime are substantially less than the lifetime that my Opa had. Substantially less. It has to be. There's no, yes, you can say the internet is the most powerful thing in the entire universe. No, I do not rise. I do not put the internet onto that level. I really don't. I love the internet. Are you kidding? I'm all over YouTube. But I do not put it all over as above electricity, above refrigeration, above the automobile, and above everything else. I don't. Because the other thing, I need to survive. I don't need, the internet gives me no sustenance to survive. If the internet disappeared tomorrow, oh well, I'm going back to read Hardaway, folks. As long as I have my fridge and my food and whatever, agriculture. So the one thing that has changed, and I want to be very clear about this, the one thing that has changed, and the internet's a huge part of that too, but you would not today in 2024 want to be taken care of at a hospital or in the medical field by the understanding of medicine in the 1980s. You wouldn't want it. From 1980 to now, so we're talking 44 years. 44 years, 1980 to now. The medical field has been here, and again, the medical field was like this for the longest time, and in the 19th century and then the 20th century. But between 1980 and now, it's massively improved. We live so much longer now. We have so much better knowledge about taking care of ourselves and what's good for us and what's bad for us. And yes, people keep on saying, well, when I was a kid, cholesterol was bad, and then it was good, and then it was bad again. Eating eggs was good, and then all these tests and studies, whatever. You just take it with all the, not necessarily take it with a grain of salt, but listen to the experts. But anyway, I'm not going to go off that tangent. That's whatever. But you would not, they use this as a fact. The cancer Terry Fox had in the 1980 when he passed away, I think it was around 1980 when he passed away, would have been not easily, would have been so much better, or would have a better prognosis if he had that cancer today. He would have 95% chance of living instead of dying like he did. And that's in 44 years. He would have lived today. A kid at his age with that same cancer today would live a long and healthy life. Whereas the prognosis back then, not good. We have come so far on that. And again, and that's in 44 years. They keep on saying how much the medical field is changing literally all the time because of all the ability to have huge computers processing and a lot of other stuff that helps, and better tools and better equipment and better microscopes and better whatevers. The MRI did not exist 50 years ago. I say this as a personal thing because I'm going to be in one in a couple of days. But I am on that specific note that the medical field, how much has changed. And again, I have so many friends that are in the medical field that tell me about the stuff that they have to be constantly changed and trained on because it changes all the time because we know things more now. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. So anyway, this went over an hour. So that's it. That's all. I was going to show off these things. Yay. Again, the difference of numbers between top and bottom shows you how many pieces we're missing. Oh, and this one. So this is a 1x1 tile, but look at no groove. I just love that. I put that in here. So that's pretty old school. And a cracked helmet. That's not a shock at all. So anyway, that's it. That's all. Everybody out there, stay safe, take care, and I will talk to you soon.